Challenger Alexis Arguello of Nicaragua and Miami. Last month, here on CBS Sports Saturday, Wilfred Benitez became only the fifth man in boxing history to win titles in 3 different weight divisions as he stopped Morris Hope of Great Britain. And tonight here in London, Alexis Arguello from Nicaragua, who has already held 2 championships, the featherweight and super featherweight titles, is going for a 3rd as well, the WBC lightweight championship, and he hopes to lift it from this man, Jim Watt, the champion from Glasgow, Scotland, defending his title now for the 5th time. It is coming up, the WBC lightweight championship, Jim Watt and Alexis Arguello here on CBS Sports Saturday. Now let's return to our sports.
Finally breaks.
And for accuracy, he's very slow. Being 32 years old, he breaks up very easily. He'll be the southpaw. He'll lead with his right jab, his best weapon. Arguello's got to get on the inside of that jab, neutralize that jab somehow. Then he can work with combinations of his own.
All right, Sean, we'll be coming back very shortly for round 1 of this WBC lightweight championship. Arguello is 29 years of age. He currently is living in Miami, Florida, has a record of 66 victories, 4 losses, 54 knockouts along the way. He is ranked #1 in the world by the World Boxing Council, the sanctioning body of this fight tonight. He is #2 ranked by the WBA. The champion, Jim Watt, has won 41, lost 5, 30 knockouts. 32 years of age, he'll be 33 next month. And the crowd in high anticipation here, obviously a highly partisan crowd for Jim Watt. Well, Sean O'Grady, you had to fight the champion Jim Watt in his hometown of Glasgow. How much did the home crowd help Jim Watt that night?
The home crowd sang songs to Jim Watt. They played the band for Jim Watt, the national anthem, everything. The crowd plays a very big role. British boxing fans are tremendous fans of any sport, not only boxing, but any sport. They keep up with their fighters, and they love their British champions. In Scotland, Jim Watt is a hero. He's a national idol. And even it has bled over so much that even down here in London, he is a national idol.
Here comes Alexis Arguello in, and Gil, if you were handling him tonight, what would you be telling him about the crowd?
Tim, I'd tell him to go all out from that first round. He's got to get this guy out of there, I think, to win the fight.
Alexis Arguello, the challenger, began fighting at the age of 16 in his hometown of Managua, Nicaragua. He has moved to the United States since the Sandinista Revolution in his home country. He was a supporter of the revolution until they came into power and then took over his $300,000 home, and he decided he would move to the United States with his family. But he is still very much a Nicaraguan. And indeed, this fight is being televised back to Nicaragua tonight, and there is a contingent of Nicaraguan fans in attendance. And then the flag has been brought in for Alexis Arguello, who is still very much a proud citizen of Nicaragua, although he does intend to become now a citizen of the United States. The crowd roar, of course, is for the champion, and Scottish flags start to wave at Wembley Arena as they have seen the appearance of Jim Watt from his dressing room to our left. The champion, Jim Watt, his 5th title fight. He beat Alfredo Pitalua in April of '79 to win it, has defended successfully 4 times against Robert Vasquez, Charlie Nash of Northern Ireland, Howard Davis of the United States, and the controversial defense against Sean O'Grady in November of 1980, the last time he was in the ring. For Arguello, incredibly, he has had 14 title fights. He has had the WBA featherweight championship victory in the 13th round by knockout over Ruben Olivares in November of 1974. He defended that crown successfully 4 times. Then in January of '78, he won the WBC Super Featherweight Championship over Alfredo Escalera and defended that crown 8 times. He is moving up to try for a 3rd title, and here's the man he has to beat, Jim Watt, looking very calm, very confident, and of course getting the crowd with him, which is easy to do here in London, down the road a piece from his hometown of Glasgow, Scotland. Jim Watt, a very engaging, a very bright and articulate young man, as indeed is the challenger, Alexis Arguello, 2 of the nicest young men ever to face each other in combat. And we'll be back for this championship bout after these messages.
Believe it or not, if 9 out of 10 of these homes burn down, there's no guarantee they'll be totally rebuilt, because rebuilding costs are rising so fast.
Tim Ryan with Gil Clancy and Sean O'Grady at ringside. We are about ready to go with this WBC Lightweight Championship fight. Under the WBC scoring rules, the 10-point must system in effect, 9 or less to the loser of a round. The referee is Arthur Mercanti of New York. He will not be a judge. There will be 3 at ringside doing the scoring. Robert Degain from Charleroi, Belgium, Kurt Oskar Hallbach from West Germany, and Dick Young from Los Angeles, California. They will do the judging in this championship fight. The mandatory 8 count in effect. There is no 3 knockdown rule. The count continues after the bell, except in the final round. And now let's join the ring announcer, Bernard O'Sullivan.
Presenting from Glasgow, the champion, Jim Watt. From Nicaragua and Miami, the challenger, former undefeated champion of the world, Alexis Arguello. My lords, ladies and gentlemen, this match was made of 9 stone 9 pounds, and in the weighing today, red scaled 9 stone 8 3/4 pounds, Arguello 9 stone 8 1/2 pounds. Your referee.
All right, you hear the ring announcer, Bernard O'Sullivan, announcing the weights. Jim Watt, 134 3/4. Alexis Arguello, 134 1/2 pounds. They have an equal reach of 72 inches, but the height advantage goes to Arguello at 5'10 1/2, Jim Watt at 5'7 1/2. 32-year-old Jim Watt, who will be 33 next month, and 29-year-old Alexis Arguello. And so, Sean O'Grady, this comes the moment for champion and challenger just seconds before the fight. Anticipation is pretty high.
Very high. These fans in Glasgow, as I said in the opening statements, they love their champion, and Jim Watt cherishes his title very, very much, and he will do anything to win that title or to retain that title here today.
All right, Arthur Mercanti has called them to the center of the ring for their instructions. And Gil, how do you see this fight going?
Well, I think it's going to be a very, very tough fight. I think Alexis Arguello is going to get off the mark fast. And the fact that they have 6-ounce gloves could be a big factor, because either fighter can bust up with those small gloves.
6-ounce gloves that are made here in England by the Bailey Company. It's a 19-foot ring here at Wembley Arena. An enthusiastic crowd, largely in support of the champion Watt, who's on the right of your screen in the blue trunks. Arguello on the left of your screen in dark green. And we are underway, round 1 of this championship 15-round fight.
In the opening statements, I talked about Jim Watt breaking up, and what I meant is that when you get up in age, when you get a few years on you, your skin starts to dry out, and you cut much easily when you're up in age than when you're younger. So we should see some blood here tonight. Alexis Arguello is known as a cutter because he spins his hands, and it adds just a little bit more to the punch. He puts that much more into it, and it adds a little bit of cutting action also.
Gil, Sean talking about Arguello's spinning his punches. Perhaps you can elaborate on that.
Well, yeah, a lot of times when a fella, especially when he snaps the jab, he puts a little twist on it at the end, and that can break up your skin, and it can cut a fighter. Now, Arguello said he was going to start fast in this fight. So far, he's been the same deliberate Alexis Arguello that we've seen in most of his recent fights in an early round.
He has been successful against left-handers in the past.
Well, his last fight was with a left-hander, and I don't know how successful he was. He won a very controversial decision over Jose Luis Ramirez, and he was on the deck.
Well, yes, indeed. Ramirez, one of only 2 men to knock him down, and he was a left-hander. But over his career of 70 fights, he has beaten a number of left-handers.
Arguello is a very hard fighter to hit. He makes his opponent miss. The opponent misses and is off balance. Then he comes back with combinations of his own. He's very wise, very, very ring-wise.
I've never seen 2 better physical specimens than these 2 guys. I've never seen fighters look in better shape. Neither one has an ounce of fat on them. They look like 2 iron bars in here.
Watching them in the gym, Gil, this past week, it was evident that they were both in superb physical condition, hardly breathing after hard workouts. Less than a minute to go in round number 1. Arguello trained on Lavender Hill here in London, known to American movie fans from the Lavender Hill Mob movie of several years back. Very amusing British movie. And a little gym over a pub up in Lavender Hill, and Jim Watt trained out on the tough East End of London.
This is a very slow first round for these lightweights, but that is typical in boxing because the first round is usually a feel 'em out round, a round to find out what your opponent's got, and both men are feeling their opponents out.
Less than 30 seconds to go in round number 1, scheduled for 15.
Alexis has landed a few good snapping, probing jabs, Tim, which is an unusual punch to attack the southpaw with, but so far he's been successful with it.
Referee Arthur McCanty doing his usual unobtrusive job in the early going here. We're in the final seconds of round 1. Tim Ryan with Gil Clancy and Sean O'Grady, the WBA. Jim Watt in blue on the right of your screen. Alexis Arguello, the challenger, on the left of your screen. Corner men for these fighters: Watt, managed and trained by Terry Lawless. Edward Roman is the manager of Arguello. He's trained by Cuyo Hernandez of Mexico.
Between rounds, Arguello spent some of the rest time applying rosin to the bottom of his shoes. He's got those leather soles on, which are fastly fading out in boxing. Most of the fighters nowadays are wearing the rubber soles so that they don't need the rosin. Arguello is measuring his opponent now. He's known very well for measuring his opponent, making something work, and then putting something on it.
Up to this moment, Watt hasn't shown any offense at all. He seems to be really respecting Alexis Arguello.
I thought that Watt would use that right jab much more than he has in this fight. I know he did against me. He used it an awful lot.
Well, so far he hasn't shown it, Sean. He's waiting. I don't know what for, but he's waiting.
Got the left hand in there, not a whole lot on it, but it scored. We'd like to alert our stations along the line. There'll be a 30-second station break following this round.
Arguello has been moving himself into good position to throw left hooks either underneath or on the chin, but when he gets over there, he doesn't throw the punch. And that is a very effective punch to attack a southpaw with a good left hook.
And isn't he well known for that? A good left hook?
Yes, he is, but he got in position again, doesn't let the hook go.
A very tentative beginning by both the champion and the challenger. Under a minute to go, round 2.
So much for dressing room information, Tim.
Right.
They told us they were both going to start out like whirlwinds.
Well, you trainers are not known for your honesty.
Wait a minute.
Especially when you're talking about your own fighters, let alone someone else's. We're in the second round of this 15-round championship fight. Under 30 seconds to go. The crowd singing for Jim Watt, some Scottish cheers and chants and songs. You'll hear it all the way through this fight.
Arguello's always keeping the pressure on Watt, always trying to cut off the ring, standing right in front of him, making Watt expend himself, making him throw punches.
I still want to see it.
All right, CBS Sports Saturday will continue after this word from your local stations. Terry Lawless is manager and trainer, and his second Frank Black. And we're ready to go round number 3. The way we've seen it, Arguello won the first 2 rounds, but neither fighter impressive thus far.
Tim, the reason Arguello won the first 2 rounds by default because Watt simply has not started the fight as yet.
Right hand from Arguello landed.
In the past, Watt has always kept the pressure on his opponent, always been able to overpower his opponent. And in this fight, he hasn't been able to put together a combination. Arguello's been keeping the pressure on the whole fight.
Well, Sean, you mentioned that Watt had a good snapping right jab, which he does possess, but he's not using it all. He's just pawing with that right hand. He doesn't seem to have any confidence in himself.
And he hasn't been able to throw the left hand at all either. He does have a good straight left hand. There it is. In the past, fighters have been known to throw a lot of right hands against southpaws. And Arguello has used his right hand, but only in a pawing stage. he hasn't used it in a snapping stage.
We're in round 3, scheduled for 15. Sean O'Grady, Gil Clancy, and Tim Ryan. We are live from Wembley Arena in London, England, here on CBS Sports Saturday. First flurry in the middle of the ring, but neither fighter able to land a damaging blow. Of course, the crowd will rise to every punch thrown by Watt, and a good left hand by Arguello, and then a good snapping jab. 2 of them.
Arguello just threw the home run ball, but missed.
Watt has some reddening on his right eye. That is probably from his training routine. I don't think he could get that red this quick in this fight.
Well, you know, Alexis, as we mentioned before, is a pretty stiff puncher, and he can twist that left hand. So maybe that's what did it, Sean.
Right hand lead from Arguello landed. Under a minute to go. Round number 3.
It's hard to say what exactly did that damage to the right eye of Watt. May have been a thumb or the edge of the glove, anything. These men are wearing 6-ounce gloves. That's not typical for the lightweights. They usually wear 8-ounce gloves, except in Britain. Good jab by Arguello.
Sean, you mentioned that 6-ounce gloves business. With 6-ounce gloves, a fighter is much more inclined to get cut because there's not that much padding over the knuckles. That's just about what's happening. You know, in the States now, in these lightweight championship fights, they use 8-ounce gloves. But here in England, 6-ounce gloves.
Yes, they're a much tighter fit to the 8-ounce are.
Final seconds of round number 3. CBS Sports Saturday will continue after this word from your local stations.
Watt seems to be fighting. He doesn't seem to have any confidence. What I call it, he's apologizing while he's punching. He's not really putting anything into it, Tim.
Let's see what happens now as we go into round 4. Remember, the scoring is done by 3 judges at ringside. Dick Young of Los Angeles, Kurt Oskar Halbach of West Germany, Robert Deguin of Charleroi, Belgium. Referee Arthur Mercanti of New York does not figure in the scoring. Round 4, the challenger in green. On the left of your screen, Alexis Arguello going for his 3rd championship. 3 different weight divisions.
As Mr. Clancy mentioned, Jim Watt does appear to be more content with his defensive skills right now instead of his offensive skills. For the first time in his career, I've seen him back up. Well, the second time, really. There's a good combination by Watt. The other time was when he was cut.
There was that left hook underneath in the right hand. That's the combination that Arguello should be using.
It was a good combination, and he got a right hand in right after it as well. Best punches of the fight thus far. Here are the 4th round.
That straight right hand just a few seconds ago hurt Watt too. He's still feeling the effect of it.
Little blood from the nose of Jim Watt now.
There it is again, the left hook under, right hand on the chin.
Arguello taking charge here in this 4th round. Watt punching tentatively and backing out of there. Never got much on it. Watt continues to look very cautious. After those 2 combinations, Gil, perhaps rightly so.
You know, Tim, sometimes a fighter feels the other fighter's power, even if they block a punch. He may have felt Alexis's power even in the 1st round, and it's made him cautious this way. He has an awful lot of respect for Alexis Arguello.
54 knockouts and 66 victories for Arguello. He is a puncher as well as a fine boxer. Watt jabbing back, but Arguello shrugged it off and landed a combination. Under a minute to go, round 4. Good combination from Watt. His best of the fight thus far. Still not with a lot of stinging power, however. How do you rate him as a hitter, Sean O'Grady?
He doesn't have that much power except with his jab. His right jab is his best weapon, which makes me think that he's actually a right-hander turned southpaw, turned around to the left-handed unorthodox style.
That's a very interesting observation, Sean.
Another thing is that that jab is slow. He uses the jab very slow, but he's very accurate with it. He lands it right on the button every time.
Final seconds now, this fourth round scheduled for 15. The champion Jim Watt, the challenger Alexis Arguello, and the Scottish crowd comes alive in support of their champion. Round number 5, Tim Ryan, Gil Clancy, WBA champion Sean O'Grady at ringside at Wembley Arena. And so far the challenger Alexis Arguello has been in command. The question of the why of this kind of a start for Jim Watt. He's in comfortable surroundings in London, England. He's fought here many times during his career. He has the support of most of this crowd. But Arguello has taken charge in the early going.
In the last round, we talked about that right jab of Jim Watt and why he isn't using it. There's a good right hand by Arguello. In his last fight with me, in Jim Watt fight October 31st, 1980, Jim Watt broke that right hand. And he may be kind of hesitant to throw it because it has been broke. Arguello has had some hand trouble also with his right hand.
Arguello lost his balance and then let himself fall back into the ropes, and the crowd got a bit of a rise out of it, but he was not hurt at all.
Alex is looking for that big punch now. He's just pawing with his jab instead of snapping it, looking to hit him with that big right hand behind it. That's not what he should be doing. He should be snapping that jab. The other punches will come all by themselves. There he dipped to throw that hook, and he didn't let it go again, Tim. I just don't understand why. He gets a beautiful position.
With Watt essentially a boxer, not a particularly good inside fighter, is he perhaps having some difficulty with the height advantage of Arguello? Watt wants to stay outside, it appears to me. He can't get inside. He doesn't know how to.
I think he's having some trouble because, for one, Arguello is taller than he is, and Arguello is pressing him. Usually, a taller fighter, or a fighter that's good in height, that has a lot of height, that has a lot of reach, he stands back, runs, he's always going backwards. And as I said, in Watt's fights, in his previous fights, he was always the aggressor. And here he's having to back up. He's having to pull away from Arguello.
Under a minute to go in this fifth round. Jim Watt will be 33 years old next month. Arguello 29, two veteran boxers. The loser of this fight will certainly be a question mark as far as his future is concerned. Less than 30 seconds to go in the fifth round with Arguello on the attack. Some effective counterpunching now by Watt, but Arguello keeps coming. Final seconds of round number 5, live from the Wembley Arena in London, England. Round number 6, the champion on the right of your screen in blue, the challenger Alexis Arguello in green. Scoring by 3 judges at ringside, one from Belgium, one from West Germany, one from the U.S.
You know, Tim, when I was managing and training fighters, I've traveled all over the world with fighters, South America, Europe, and in different areas they scored differently. For example, in the last round here, Arguello chased Watt, chased him, and landed maybe 4 punches to 1. But the British people, they love to see a fella make the other guy miss and get out of there. That counts more to them than a guy landing effective punches. In America, we like boxers and punches. Down South America, they just like fighters, guys that walk in. So you have to worry about the psychology when you're judging a fight in these different areas. And some people may think Arguello is winning all by himself, but you never know how the officials are looking at a fight.
Exactly. Another thing that might bring up about the last round, right at the end of the round, Watt threw a good combination, landed all 3 punches, and he may have won the round just off that last impression. The last thing the judges see is what he remembers best.
Boy, Sean, you are so right. I've seen many a fighter win 2.5 minutes of a round, get hit with one big bomb just before a round ends, and the judge just remembers that punch.
Exactly, and then the partisan crowd here may have something to do with it.
Beautiful combination by Arguello.
Good uppercut from Arguello. There's a warning here. I'm not sure what for from Arthur McCanny.
I do not know myself. It looked to me like a beautiful combination. Best combination of the fight.
Another left hand landed from Arguello, followed by a right to the body. Watt has been backing up from the opening bell.
And there's some swelling underneath the left eye. So he's got a bruise on his right eye, Watt does, and some swelling underneath the left eye.
Well,
there's what I'm talking about, the scoring.
Right.
Arguello's been scoring and scoring. If Watt does anything at all, the crowd goes crazy, and it can affect the judges. They're human beings.
A minute left in this round. Interesting on that point. The president of the WBC, Jose Suleiman, is here. He told his judges in a special meeting before the fight not to be influenced by the crowd in any way, to be objective and to concentrate. He made quite a point of saying, don't be influenced by the crowd. Well, as you say, they're human. Who knows? We'll know when the decision is announced, if indeed it goes to a decision.
Another good point to bring up about scoring, about judging, is that you must give points for the aggressor, because if there wasn't an aggressor, there would not be a fight.
Under 30 seconds to go in round 6. And gentlemen, I don't think we would disagree in that if we were scoring, Arguello has won all 5 of the first rounds.
Well, I have him comfortably ahead, Tim. He's in command in the fight.
Final seconds now of round number 6. Round number 7, Tim Ryan with Sean O'Grady, the WBA lightweight champion, and Gil Clancy. We are live from the Wembley Arena. This championship bout approaching the halfway mark. The champion, Jim Watt. Very cautious starter in this fight. Arguello, the challenger, has been aggressive from the opening bell. He is on the right of your screen in green.
Scored real good early this round, Tim. He landed some good snappy punches early.
We've talked about the crowd here in London being for Watt, but there are some supporters here for Arguello from his home country in Nicaragua. There's probably from 50 to 75 people here with rattlers and trying to intimidate Watt, but the Watt crowd is too much.
There was that combination again, that left hook underneath. I'd like, if he uses that punch more often, I think he'll get Watt out of there.
A little bit of redness around the left eye of Arguello. Doesn't appear to be terribly damaging at this point.
Well, Watt has started to score with that right jab. He started about the middle of last round, and he is jabbing a little more snappy, a little better now.
We are told that the warning from Mercanti was for them to watch their heads. He was afraid that they were starting to make contact with their heads. And that came in the last round, number 6.
You notice Watt is, there he goes down with a left hook.
Jim Watt with a left hook. It was not a tremendously powerful punch, but it caught him going backwards, and it was a clean knockdown punch, but he is all right. Knockdown scored by the challenger, Arguello.
And that is the left hook that you were talking about, Mr. Clancy. He came right over the jab.
Sean, I always believed in having my fighters use left hooks against southpaws.
Arguello now trying to finish the champion Watt, and now Arguello complaining about Watt getting his head in tight. Complaining to the other fighter. Under a minute to go. Round number 7. Champion has been down.
Arguello is complaining about a clash of the heads, but there was no cut from that clash. It happened on the right side of Arguello's eye, on his right eye. Or on top of the right eye over the eyebrow.
Blood from the nose of Jim Watt. Flowing again.
Oh, he gets in such beautiful position to throw that left hook, Sean, and then he doesn't throw it. He gets the hard part done, which is getting in position, then he doesn't get the easy part done by letting the hand go.
Under 30 seconds to go. There was a warning to Watt for holding behind the head from referee Mercanti. Arguello continues to stalk his man. There seems to be a slight cut on the bridge of the nose of the champion, Watt. Good body blow from Arguello. Final seconds of round number 7. Round number 8 of this 15-round championship bout. The challenger, Alexis Arguello, when he got to his corner, we could see a slice on the eyelid of his left eye. There appears to be a slight cut on the bridge of the nose of the champion, Watt, but the one to Arguello, Gil, appears to be actually more dangerous.
Yes, it is. It's in a bad spot, Tim. It's on the eyelid. It's a small cut right now, but Watt has been landing that right jab more often in this fight, and if I was Arguello, I'd pull out all the stops and get this fellow out of there. Be a tough break to lose a fight on a cut when you're way ahead.
Well, as we see it, he's way ahead, and he scored a knockdown in round number 7. Watt trying to pick away. You can see that right jab now. He's thrown it almost exclusively since the start of this 8th round.
Well, as Sean mentioned, he may be a converted right-hander because that right jab is his best weapon, and it is a pretty stiff punch when he throws it properly.
Alexis is now starting to loosen up and find his reach, find the distance on his opponent, and maybe he's figuring out that left-handed style of Watt. Watt's very awkward, and he comes with that awkward, very awkward jab.
Oh, they banged heads again.
Left to the head of Jim Watt as he was backing away from the challenger Arguello.
Got nailed with a good left hook, Tim. It shook him.
There is blood in that little slight cut on the inside of the bridge of the nose of the champion Watt.
Arguello is starting to get the distance now, Sean, as you mentioned. His punches are becoming more effective because he's punching through his target instead of at it.
Just landed a long right hand. Left hand back from Watt and a good right jab from Watt. Under a minute to go, round 8.
Oh, they banged heads again.
So far, the cut on the eyelid of Arguello has not been a problem here in this 8th round. When we come back from commercial following this 8th round, we'll show you Arguello's knockdown of Watt that came in round number 7. We've got under 30 seconds to go here in the 8th round. Roundhouse right from Arguello, and it missed.
This is the first round that Watt's been able to put together a decent offense. He's been landing some good punches here.
Final seconds of the round. CBS Sports Saturday continues after this word from your local stations. We are back at Wembley Arena in London, England, awaiting the start of the 9th round. Let's go back to round number 7 and watch for the left hand of Alexis Arguello as he sends the champion to the canvas. A good sharp left hand. We'll see it one more time.
The champion brings back that left hand kind of low, and when he did, Alexis Arguello shifted his weight over to that left foot, came with that left hook.
All right, we are now back in round number 9 underway. Some blood from the nostrils of the champion Watt.
Well, there's a fighter that went to the corner without a bloody nose and came out with one, Tim.
You're right. Well, it had been bleeding earlier, but maybe his trainer, Terry Lawless, spoke to him a little more physically between rounds. No problem with the cut on the eyelid of the challenger Arguello so far. And likewise, the cut on the corner of the bridge of the nose, just inside on the left side of the champion Watt.
Arguello is thinking past that left hand, which he shouldn't do. He's pouring with that jab instead of snapping that jab, and then he can feint and throw those combinations. But he's got to snap that jab out there too, Tim.
But what he's trying to do with that jab is he's trying to wipe down Jim Watt's jab. He's trying to counteract his jab. The way he's doing that is he's keeping something in the face of Jim Watt. I think it's a smart move to use a jab against a southpaw anytime.
I agree with you, Sean, but you might as well throw a good jab as a sloppy one. Put a little snap in it.
Right hook from Watt landed, and the crowd loved it. They have been in support of their champion all the way along here. Singing, cheering, lively crowds as always in Great Britain. Arguello got the right hand through to the nose of the champion in that last exchange.
Arguello was probably the most patient fighter I've ever seen, Tim. He's always measuring. I'd like to see him a lot more active with those hands. He's got golden hands. He should use them.
Going for his 3rd championship in 3 different weight divisions. Only 5 men had done it before him. Most recently, Wilfred Benitez right here on CBS against Morris Hope, winning the Super Welterweight Championship.
See, there again, Arguello threw a beautiful right-hand lead, but he didn't follow it up with any sort of combination. It's one punch at a time.
Under a minute to go in this 9th round. Scheduled for 15.
Jim Watt is bleeding very badly from his nose. That nose was also broken in my fight, in Jim Watt's last fight in October of last year.
Good, solid left hand from Arguello. Good right hand from Arguello. The challenger on the left of your screen.
That left hook under right hand on the chin. He can land it at will. Or at Jim.
Less than 30 seconds to go in the 9th round.
Watt has got his mouth open. He's breathing through his mouth now. Maybe because of that nose being clogged up with blood.
In the final seconds now, the 9th round. CBS Sports Saturday continues after this word from your local stations. Back here at ringside, Wembley Arena, London, England. Awaiting the 10th round in the champion's corner, Terry Lawless, working on that nosebleed, which is fairly severe, and as Sean O'Grady pointed out, maybe hampering his breathing.
It's probably hampering his breathing because his mouth is open. Now Jim Watt is breathing through his mouth. His mouth is open, and when your mouth is open, it's a little bit easier to get your jaw broken. You get hit on that hinge, and it just snaps right in two.
Arguello.
It's bleeding again in this round, and the round has just started.
Yeah, they haven't stopped the bleeding in between rounds, Sean, and it could become a breathing factor, and it could make him very, very tired.
Gil Clancy, WBA champion. Sean O'Grady, solid right hand from Arguello.
That was just a little off the button, Tim. I think we would have all went home.
Well, as we see it, Arguello way ahead, but we do caution you, of course, that the judges here at ringside may be seeing it differently. Dick Young from California, Kurt Oscar Halbach from West Germany, Robert Degen from Charleroi, Belgium. Good combination again from the challenger, Arguello. Again, blood from that cut on the inside of the bridge of the nose of Jim Watt on the left side.
And now there's a cut underneath the left eye of Jim Watt. He's had some swelling there in the past few rounds, and now a cut has opened up underneath that eye.
Yes, indeed. And meanwhile, no problem with the cut on the eyelid of Arguello.
That cut underneath the left eye of Jim Watt will not be any problem because it does not impair the vision. It does not hamper the vision of Jim Watt at all. If it was over the eye, the referee might stop the fight. He might call the doctor in, but not underneath the eye.
Sean, if he's having a problem breathing through his nose, he's now going to start to get some blood running down into his mouth, so that could be a breathing problem.
Yes, sir, and he is swallowing the blood from his nose because the nose runs right down the throat. So he is swallowing that blood, and now the blood from his eye is an additional blood.
Arguello is doing what we call a paint job on him now, Tim. He's feinting, and just snapping that left jab out, and he's breaking Watt up just every place he hits him now.
Well, as I have seen this fight, it's really been a sparring session for Arguello right from the start.
Isn't it amazing, though, how those hometown fans, their Watt threw a combination, missed both punches, and they really cheered. They must think that the punches are landing.
Under a minute remaining in round number 10. This is a 15-round WBC lightweight championship fight. We are live from London, England.
Arguello is just a little too much one punch at a time. He's punishing Watt, but he could get him out of there after he lands a big punch if he come back with another combination.
Under 30 seconds to go, round number 10. Right hand landed from Watt, feinting with the left, brought the right one up.
Arguello's actually fighting a very smart fight because he's keeping control. That was a good right hand by Jim Watt. Looked like it staggered Arguello. But Arguello is keeping control right now. He's able to hit his opponent and then get out of the way so there's no retaliation.
We're in the final seconds of round number 10. Blood all over the face now, the champion Watt. Round number 11 of this WBC lightweight championship fight, the champion Jim Watt. They worked feverishly on those cuts in the corner. The ring physician Adrian Whiteson was summoned in by the referee Arthur McCanty, took a look and said he can continue, but again he is bleeding from the nose early in round 11.
3 solid punches from Arguello caused that bleeding, Tim. They've done a good job on the cut underneath his eye, but his nose is bleeding again.
Arguello just missed with a big right hand. Had knockout spelled all over it.
He has Watt falling for every feint now because he has been hurting him. That makes it a lot easier for Arguello.
Watt is such a smart fighter. In the last round, he came on strong at the last few seconds of the round and could have caught the judge's eye again. He's had a lot of fights, and he's got that time clock, that 3 minutes into his head. And you've got to have that to be a good professional.
Sean, we did mention, the judges remember the last 15 seconds of the round, but they also are influenced by blood. And there was an awful lot of blood on Watt that last round. I doubt very much if they'd give it to Watt.
That's exactly right. The judges see that blood, and the reddening of that blood is a shock to the eye, for one. And they also know that the opponent is hurting the champion, or if the challenger is hurting the champion with those spinning punches.
Arthur McCanty taking a close look at Watt there as he separated the two fighters. We're in round 11. Good defensive work by Watt, ducking away from most of the heavy artillery thrown by Arguello in the last exchange.
Tim, Arthur McCanty's done a wonderful job in this fight. When a referee does a good job, he's a referee that you don't notice. You notice he's moving around. He's never interfering with the action.
Less than a minute to go in round number 11. That is the unobtrusive style we referred to early in the fight on the part of McCanty, a very well-respected, and rightly so, a very well-respected referee throughout the world. Left hand from Arguello.
I'm not as patient as Arguello. If I was in his corner, I'd be saying, what are you waiting for? Let's go home. You're in the other fella's hometown.
These last 4 rounds should be in the advantage of Arguello. He is the younger of the two, but he's up there in age also. He's 29 years old. Watt is 32, and Watt is cut up in these last 4 rounds also.
Under 30 seconds to go.
Alexis, in many a fight, he's gone into the last 4 or 5 rounds even or behind, and he's a great finisher. And if he does the same thing this time, we may not have a finish.
Final seconds of round number 11. Live from London, England, here on CBS Sports Saturday. Round number 12. The challenger, Alexis Arguello, as we see it, very much in command. But again, who knows how the judges who are doing the scoring are seeing this fight. Sean O'Grady, Gil Clancy thinks Arguello should be going for the kill here.
Well, there was an example, Tim. They just banged heads again. One headbutt can bust you wide open, and you can blow a fight, as Sean O'Grady can tell you. He can testify to that fact.
Sean, do you think Arguello should really be going after him, trying to take him out, or do you think his plan right now is the correct one?
I think he's doing a good job right now. I think he's doing perfect. Because, for one, every time he gets Jim Watt in the corner, just like right there, he can't hit the target. He can't hit the mark because of the awkwardness of Jim Watt. Jim Watt is so awkward, and he uses that jab. He moves very well. Watt is a smart fighter.
Right hand from Arguello off the left hand jab.
If Arguello was landing more, was able to hurt Jim Watt, stun Jim Watt, he has knocked Watt down once, but he still hasn't landed enough for me. I'm thinking that Alexis Arguello is doing a fine job right now.
Only one knockdown of the fight. It came in the 7th round. A left hand from Arguello, sending the champion Watt to the canvas.
Watt looks very, very tired to me right now. Even that straight left hand he threw, it had absolutely nothing on it. Powder puff punch.
Right hand from Arguello, snap back the head of the champion. Left uppercut landed from Watt. Left back from Arguello.
Tim, Watt's punches have absolutely nothing on them at all.
Round number 12 of the scheduled 15-round WBC lightweight championship fight. Under a minute to go in round 12. First combination in a while scored by the champion Watt. Arguello right back with a snapping left jab.
Arguello's jabs were more powerful than Watt's straight left hand.
Heavy blood from the nose of the champion Watt again. Under 30 seconds to go in the 12th. Tim Ryan with Sean O'Grady and Gil Clancy ringside in the Wembley Arena.
Alexis is trying to get his motor started. He's bouncing up and down on his legs. See if he can't feel him. Get himself going a little faster.
Surprising that neither man has worked an effective body attack. Long fights, that's essential.
We're in the final seconds of round number 12. Round number 13. The champion Jim Watt, as we see it, in great difficulty here, but Who knows what the view of the judges at ringside is? The referee, Arthur McCanny, does not figure in the scoring. One knockdown scored by Arguello back in the 7th round. The challenger on the left of your screen in green, the champion in blue.
Again, Jim Watt in this round came out at the first of the round with his nose bleeding. That nose is running right into his mouth, and he's swallowing it.
Tim, we've been talking about what Alexis Arguello should do. What about what Jim Watt should do? He's way behind in the fight. What do you tell him if you're in the corner? You're going to have to say to him, Jim, your championship has gone out the window. Let's go out and take some chances. Try to get this guy out of there. What else can he do? Or just abdicate.
Arguello landed a good right hand and then just scored with a left. Shiny made a good point. They have not been going to the body very much, either fighter.
Watt is going to have to get a good, strong attack here these last few rounds, I have to believe. Because as I said, he is way behind in the fight. He's bleeding. His nose is hurt. His eye is hurt. But he may just be trying to go the distance. It's hard to say.
When you're the champion of the world, Sean, as you are, I don't think you'd ever try to go the distance. If you were behind in a fight, I think you'd give it all you have, wouldn't you?
I would, but what about Jim Watt? Right now, he looks to me like he's just trying to survive. He's not attacking. He's not on the attack. He's not throwing punches. He's not mixing up combinations.
Arguello just backed him up with a good right hand.
The left hook is the punch that sets up that right hand, Tim. He can do it all night long. All he has to do is move his head, bend that left knee and hook, and the right hand will come all by itself.
No more blood. Good left hand by Jim Watt. No more blood from that cut underneath the left eye of Jim Watt. Another good left hand. That left hand is real straight, and it comes right on the inside.
All that's going to do is wake Alex up. A couple of those punches from Watt makes him fight a little harder.
Under a minute to go, round 13. Gil Clancy, Sean O'Grady, Tim Ryan. We're at Wembley Arena for this coverage of the WBC Lightweight Championship on CBS Sports Saturday. Big week here in London with Ascot just completed. Wimbledon coming up, and you'll see coverage of the Ascot Gold Cup on CBS Sports Sunday tomorrow. Jack Whitaker on hand to describe it for you. Less than 30 seconds to go in the 13th round. Blood again covering the face of the champion Watt.
Sean, that nose might be broken because they haven't been able to stop the bleeding from the time it started.
Oh, a solid left hand from Arguello. Final seconds of round 13. The crowd exhorting the champion Watt. A right hand from Arguello. Round number 14 of this 15-round lightweight championship bout. The challenger Arguello on the left of your screen. The champion, as we see it, in desperate straits here late in this fight. Blood from the nose again. They have been unable to stop it for about the last 7 rounds. Arguello very relaxed between rounds. He's hardly been breathing hard.
Sometimes it is possible for a fighter to lull his opponent to sleep. That way you get your opponent to make mistakes, and then you can come in with your combinations.
Well, Jim Watt has scored 30 knockouts in his 41 victories, but is not known, as described by you and everybody else, not known as a real powerful puncher.
Arguello really means business now, Tim. This is his territory, this 14th and 15th round. He's coming after Watt with some pretty good left hooks and right hands.
Watt backing up mainly and then trying to come forward every now and then.
He has no offense, Tim. No offense whatsoever. As Sean pointed out, he's an awkward southpaw. He's tough to hit, but he doesn't have any offense.
Comes forward, he doesn't throw punches. He just moves his feet forward, but without throwing punches. A lot of blood from the nose now. Watt.
Many times a knockout occurs in a fight because in the last few rounds, one fighter tries to put pressure on the other side, on the other fighter. He runs into something unintentionally, and down they go.
Well, Watt's running into plenty now, Sean.
But if he uses a good combination, he may be able to make Arguello run into something.
Sean, I don't think you could make Arguello run into anything if Arguello put his hands down and let him hit him. He doesn't have it anymore. Nothing left.
Under a minute to go. Round 14. Did you agree, Sean?
I agree with him, but I'm just trying to think trying to
There you go.
good right hand or left hand.
All that will do is make Arguello mad. Now he'll go to work on him some more.
That's exactly what he did. He came back with a solid left right behind it.
I try to explain how Jim Watt would win this fight, or how he could try harder to win this fight.
Less than 30 seconds to go. Round 14. We're going to be going to Brent Musburger, New York, for a special report on a world record in track and field that took place today. That'll be coming up at the end of this 14th round. Arguello still very much on the attack. Final seconds of the round. Let's go to Brent for a report on this world record in track and field today. Back to New York.
All right, Tim, thank you so much. That world record set today when Francis Terry Vineron pole vaulted 19 feet a quarter inch. That outdoor meet was held in France. The previous world record set last year by Poland's Władysław Kozikowicz. Now at the U.S. Open, George Burns leads by 4 strokes over David.
Round number 15. The final round, and the crowd here trying to pull it out for Jim Watt, unless they think he's ahead, and you would have to be among the most prejudiced of fans to see that or feel that way. But again, we caution that the judges may have a totally different view of this fight. We've got Arguello practically pitching a shutout.
Tim, for the crowd to pull it out for Jim Watt, they'd have to get in the ring with him and help him right now.
Yeah, that's the way we feel about it anyway.
And they're trying to do just exactly that. The whole crowd is chanting, Jim Watt, Jim Watt.
Well, I think they're chanting for him because of the courage. I mean, he's really been bleeding heavily for the last 4 or 5 rounds, and he hung in there, Sean. I think that really that's why they're cheering.
He is a very courageous fighter.
They're great fans here in Great Britain. They really support their fighters. They haven't had a great number of champions, but they've enjoyed a few in the last couple of years, and perhaps they feel they're going to lose another one, as they lost Morris Hope a few weeks back, Alan Minter, Johnny L. Gardner, their hope for the heavyweight championship, badly beaten the other night. And they perhaps feel a Watt title slipping away.
Jim Watt has got a bloody nose. He's got a cut in his upper lip on the inside.
Well, he's taking a shot at it now. He tried to throw a couple of straight left hands, but they just don't have anything in them.
And he has taken too much punishment to this point. Both of his eyes are swelled up. He's got a cut underneath the left eye.
We're in the final round. Tim Ryan with Gil Clancy, WBA champion Sean O'Grady. And it would appear that Alexis Arguello is en route to becoming the 6th man in boxing history to win 3 titles in 3 different weight divisions. Unless the judges have a totally different view from
There
ours.
go the fans cheering again for 2 missed Watt punches. They're just cheering for him for courage, I think. Unless
Under
they
a
can't
minute.
see what I'm seeing.
Under a minute to go in the fight. Another right hand lands from the challenger.
Good right hand underneath by Arguello. Watt's a trooper. He's still there.
There's that good right jab again. Still hasn't used it as much as I predicted he would.
Under 30 seconds to go in the fight. Jim Watt, known as a game competitor, showing it here again in defense of his title.
Well, he's finishing well, as they say in Britain, Tim.
So is Alexis Arguello.
He is finishing very well, and as I talked about the final few seconds, the judges remember he is flurrying here.
Final seconds of the fight as Watt throws that last left hook, and it is all over. And embraced by these 2 fine competitors are 2 of the finest gentlemen in boxing today. They genuinely have fondness and respect for each other. There you see Alexis Arguello with a handshake for the local promoter, Mickey Duff, and embraces for the champion, Jim Watt, as we await the decision. The ring announcer, Bernard O'Sullivan, will have it from the judges, Robert Degain of Belgium, Kurt Oscar Halbach of West Germany, Dick Young of Los Angeles. Ascot coverage tomorrow on CBS Sports Sunday, and we invite you to join.
Here's some of the action from round 7.
Round 7 is where the knockdown occurred, and I think we're going to see it again, Sean. Let's watch for that left hand from Arguello on the right.
Notice how low that the left hand or the right hand of Jim Watt is, and there was the left hook. Arguello shifted his weight to that left hook, and around it came, and it landed right on the chin. There it is. 1-2, and he came back with the right hand. The right hand missed, but it shows what a good combination puncher that Arguello is.
Alexis Arguello, former featherweight champion of the world, WBA version, former WBC super featherweight champion, going for the WBC lightweight championship. We're still awaiting the decision here. Here it is.
The judges' scores are as follows. Dick Young scores 147 for Arguello, 137
One vote for Arguello.
Judge Desquin scores 147 for Arguello, 143 for Watt. Judge Albert, 147 for Arguello, 143 for Watt.
A unanimous decision for the new WBC lightweight champion, Alexis Arguello of Nicaragua, lifting the title from Jim Watt. And for Gil Clancy and Sean O'Grady, this is Tim Ryan saying goodnight from the Wembley Arena in London, England, returning you to New York.